Technically, it's also the first ever comic I ever made. We are going to roast my 8-year-old comic. The stuff that's in this comic is not only confusing, but also in a way mind-blowing. Despite all of that, the title of the comic is just My Life. Let's review this like it's a regular webtoon comic. This would be the thumbnail, I suppose. The genre is drama and fantasy. The synopsis is basically Hanako is a high schooler by day and angel that fights evil by night. And I can confirm that we don't see a lot of fighting in the comic because I wouldn't know how to draw fight scenes as a kid. Now, my first remark, just looking at this comic, very shoujo romance resemblance with the big eyes. I think my main inspiration back then was a comic called Hatenko Yugi and also just a mix of Kamikaze Joanne and also Wings Club. So excuse the quality of all these images. I used to draw my comic on my spelling book. I didn't have paper back then because I couldn't afford to buy papers. There's a few pages of concept characters in the comic. 50% don't really end up in the comic. They all have like Japanese names and whatnot. It's like Hanako, Mizuno, Haruhi. They're just like, it's like, think of someone just randomly generating Japanese anime names. This is me apologizing to my imaginary audience. I legit thought that this comic would someday see the light of day. I was already prepping myself for an audience. Gosh, where should I start? Okay, my name's Hadako Maki. I'm 16 and I go to Shihaba High. The story goes, well, I find myself in a lot of trouble and I don't know, less talking, more drawing. Oh my god! In chapter 1, basically we get to know that Hanako has a sister that is never mentioned again. And Hanako goes to the mall with her bestie Mizuno just to prove to you how boring and normal her life is. Moving on to chapter 2, every day at night, I would sit by the window and something secret lies here that nobody knows except me. Hey there, this is my guardian angel. And apparently her name is Nao, which wasn't even she wasn't even in the concept character list, by the way. In volume 2 and 3, it's pretty much about your average high school love triangles and love rivals. Not only did I lost volume 3, I don't know where it is, I can't find it, so I pretty much saved you a volume's worth of petty high school love drama. Guess what? Apparently if you tell the humans that angels and heaven exist, heaven gets destroyed? Just in case you wouldn't understand. Meanwhile, somewhere secret, we see 2 floating fireballs. Apparently these are sins. And these 2 sins have a crystal ball in the middle. They are spying on Hanako. And one of them said, it seems that a human angel is born. She has the godless barrier. And so their mission basically is to spy on Hanako and figure out what her weakness is. So in volume 5, basically Hanako became an angel. And she literally says, finally, after all these days, not like it took years or anything, you know, just days. In chapter 18, Nao and Hanako go to heaven, and because I cannot for the life of me draw backgrounds, we have no backgrounds in heaven. They meet 2 angel guys, one of them is called Guren. In this very key but not focused dialogue, he says, I don't know why, but the angel you possess is a very strong one. Confused adult me reading this now, I'm like thinking, what do you mean possessed? I thought she became an angel on her own. We see a giant picture of an angel. Apparently, she is the goddess of all angels and she is no longer alive. In the next chapter, after Hanako receives some angel transformation dust, she goes back to Earth. In the meantime, Guren and Nao talk about Sora. Nao tells Guren, Sora, she will never come back. I think you should just let go of the past and keep moving forward. And Guren, like a very true edgy anime persona, says that's none of your business. In this volume, Hanako meets a random lonely girl and they basically become friends. And in the next chapter, the lonely girl reveals her big secret to Hanako. She actually killed her mom because of abuse, and her grandfather took her in afterwards. She thinks that Hanako would call her a freak, but with the power of friendship, Hanako does not think she is a freak. In the next chapter, Hanako goes out for a walk and then she sees a crowd gathering outside an apartment. Apparently, an old man was killed and someone covered in bed sheets walks past her. We discover that it is actually the lonely girl. And oh my god, the lonely girl has her own like devil transformation. The blood is so good. Oh my god.
Hell no, man. What the fuck?
So Hanako runs at the shock of finding out that her friend became a devil. She manages to send a message. In chapter 28, the Sins ordered the lonely girl to start strangling Hanako. And while Hanako is struggling, she hears the lonely girl say, "I'm sorry, Tomodachi." Right before she gets strangled to death, the angel squad arrives. Again, I cannot draw fighting scenes, so instead we just settle with them talking to her, which the lonely girl says, "Kill me." And then the others are like, "Wait, what? I thought you were dead and you're not gonna fight? Don't mind if we do." Guren just stabs her. Hanako is like, "No, stop, what are you doing?" She pushes him away. So apparently if she dies as she is now, she would die as like reincarnate as a devil. So they have to actually get on with the cleansing ritual. Even if I close my eyes and ears, I can still hear that scream of pain. Hanako lets go of herself to only find the lonely girl all bruised up. All you people see is a monster, but all I see is just a crying little girl. We end on the chapter finding out that the lonely girl's name is actually Miwako. And also apparently I lost volume 9 as well. So Hanako gets captured by the Sins. Nao and the angel squad arrive again. Damn, look at this claw whip thing. It's like Kurapika, right? And it gets really intense actually. This is like the most intense fighting scene I've ever drawn as an 8-year-old. Nao loses control of her powers and it ends up stabbing the other angels instead. Luckily, Guren is able to deflect her powers, but everything was actually really intense until this random angel dude just says the word unlock, and then it just stops because apparently you can just use the unlock spell. That was anticlimactic, my god. Sora, who actually resides in Hanako's body, fights off the Sins from her body. Before the Sins is killed, he exposes Guren in the process. These tattoos that he has on his body symbolizes that an evil spirit has possessed him, and apparently he did it for love. And in order to save some part of Sora's soul, he gave up one of his soul to the devil. So Sora transferred whatever remaining soul she had to Hanako as a vessel. While they were explaining all of this, the Sins ran away, they're gone. And then Hanako is also eventually saved. In the next volume, we are in Guren's flashback where Sora tells him they won't be able to meet anymore. All because Sora is now chosen as the goddess of all angels, but Guren stays a soldier. And I love that I had to write him smiling for the second time. 5 years later, Guren becomes Sora's bodyguard. Guren proposes to her, and yeah, she kind of pranked him.
Oh my dude, you just got pranked.
But this happiness does not last long because one day Sora gets captured by an innocent girl who is apparently controlled by the devils. And it was too late. By the time Guren found her, Sora had already died and reincarnated as a devil. Guren is forced into a decision of killing Sora for the angel's safety because I guess she's very powerful and she could pretty much take down heaven. As Guren hesitates, Sora intercepts his mind to tell him to give him an order to kill her. And she dies in Guren's arms. In heaven, they have a funeral for the goddess. Don't ask me how that works. Ever since then, he never smiled again. In the next chapter, the Sins manipulated themselves into Hanako's friends. And using the images of her friends, they kind of mentally torture Hanako, saying shit like, are we really friends and whatnot? Basically making her question her friendship. I guess this is Hanako's true weakness, like just losing her friendship in general. In her most vulnerable moment, her goddess barrier breaks and she is once again possessed by the devil. Sora is then forced to leave Hanako's body. They need to save Hanako before she ends up reincarnated as the devil like Sora. Hanako was about to be taken away by the devils, but Guren manages to save her last minute. But in the process, Guren is hurt and he dies, actually. But don't worry, he dies and he becomes a ghost so that he can be with Sora. And we end on Guren and Sora moving on to the afterlife together, and I guess they lived happily ever after. Chapter 54 is the final chapter. It ends with everybody's resolution. This is pretty much the story, you know. I don't know about Hanako. I think conclusion wise, I don't think she really grew as a person. Like, it's weird because usually you would see the protagonist growing as a person, but instead we see Guren having more character development compared to Hanako. We also never really see the devils / sins get killed in the comic, like they are just all alive at the end anyway. Apparently, I was already hyping myself up for a new comic called Love Angel. It even has concept art and whatnot, but luckily nothing ever came out of it. I'm glad I decided not to pursue it later. Honestly, I wanted to make this video to honor my 8-year-old self who didn't think she would ever have an audience as big as it is on YouTube right now, where I can publicly shove my comics into your faces. I have made a few comics in the past. None of them were ever as insane as my 8 years old comic, okay? And to be honest, out of all the comics I have ever drawn as a kid, I liked this one the most. Just because it was so insane and... well, to be fair, I was kind of drawing for no one, but at the same time, I was kind of hoping I would have an audience one day. I like the plot twists, kinda. They were confusing, but at the end of the day, there is a story there. So yeah, it's not that bad for an 8-year-old, right? Also, I have a few more cringe comics from my past that honestly I don't mind sharing and cringing over. So if you would like to see more videos like this, feel free to comment down below if you are interested. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to like and subscribe. Also check out my more professional web comics, links in the description. And if you would like to support me, I have Ko-fi for one-time donations, and I have shop on Ko-fi where you can get digital assets like brushes and whatnot. And finally, thank you to all my patrons for supporting me. Thank you for letting me make dumb videos like this, and just, yeah, for supporting it. I appreciate it, and I will see you guys in the next video.